1898. Madrid's main clock stopped dead mid-second on the tower. Crowds froze and waited, unsure what to do next. No grind, no jam. Time simply paused for 2 minutes. Then the gears spun, and the bells finally rang again. But the sound reached ears before the hammer could strike. People looked at each other, like they'd all just dreamed. Morning brought a square buzzing with explanations and gossip. Some blamed a hidden hand. Some blamed a bad winding. A watchmaker claimed he had checked the mechanism that night. He swore the gears were clean, perfectly aligned, and timed. Only one tiny detail stuck with him like a worry. A small brass cog had gone missing from the back plate. No one saw it taken, and no one ever found it. Scientists later tested the tower with instruments and notes. Their math worked. Their numbers fit known vibrations and models. Still, the bell echo stayed unexplained and stubbornly odd. People preferred better stories than the dry reports. A lover called it fate. A child called it magic. Fog, memory, and even river currents got blamed for it. None of those answers fit the missing cog and bell echo. A single absent tooth in the mechanism can change everything. Madrid kept the detail and let the minute become a tale. On New Year's Eve, people still point up and smile knowingly.
One clock stopped at 3:17. Emilio Serrano disappeared that same night. No forced entry and no signs of struggle. Everything seemed normal at first glance. Something about his work felt suddenly unfinished. His journal contained the strangest final note. The last line read like a command. If the pulse happens again, it will open below. What did he mean by the pulse? A heartbeat? A machine? Or something else? He had circled dates and drawn small arrows. Once he wrote below 3 times in a row. Candles had been relit very recently. There were no traces showing where he'd gone. Only a small copper gear was missing. It fit in the palm of a hand. People began to watch their clocks differently. 3 nights later, another clock stopped exactly. Emilio was still gone, without a trace. Authorities had no leads and no answers. Friends remembered his obsession with patterns and timing. No one solved the empty chair mystery that year. The workshop waited, untouched and full of questions. People returned to the journal again and again. They read the last line until it felt new. If the pulse happens again, it will open below. In 1922, sewer workers uncovered a sealed door. It had a single date carved on it, 1788, and a round symbol no one could read. They reported it, like they should. By morning, the entire entrance was bricked. No explanation given. Think about that for a second. A hole in the city was filled, like someone wanted it erased fast. Who ordered it? Who paid for the work? And what did they fear would leak out? That date matters because of what was happening then. Who in 1922 wanted to hide 1788? Maybe it pointed to crimes, lists, or names. Maybe an old society left a mark. Or maybe the symbol was a warning sign. The workers saw it. They told their bosses. Then, silence. Orders to forget. You can guess many reasons. None of those reasons feel harmless now. The city file stayed closed for decades. People forgot the story. Or were made to forget. But stones don't lie entirely. The mark was still in the brick. And that circle meant something older than memory. So this isn't just about a closed door. It's about who gets to write the past and who can erase it with bricks. We keep finding these small erasures. They pile up until truth is reshaped. Ask who ordered the bricking. Ask why. And don't let a single date be forgotten. In 1975, restorers found a hidden blueprint. It mapped 4 levels beneath the plaza. At the bottom, they saw a labeled chamber. The label read, La Sala del Pulso, the pulse room. No one knew what pulse meant then. They kept the blueprint secret for weeks. They measured, compared, and argued through nights. Someone traced a faint line and tapped the paper. He told them to listen closely. They came back with lanterns and skepticism. A shaft opened. Cold air rose like a breath. A narrow stair led down into damp dark. At the bottom, concentric stone rings surrounded a shallow pool. Small channels fed toward a central drain. Copper fittings dotted the walls, holes drilled precisely. They found scorch marks and a small iron device. It looked part pump, part speaker. Tests found metal salts and charcoal ash. Nothing proved the purpose. Questions multiplied instead. Planners sealed the shaft years later. The plaza got redesigned above, subtle and smooth. The blueprints ended up in a dusty drawer. One old restorer still taps that paper sometimes. He swears the pulse was real, or he enjoys telling the story. Most people walk right over it without noticing. But every now and then, someone stops. They feel a hum under their feet. For a second, they swear something moved. On New Year's Eve, 1984, the clock froze again at the exact same second as in 1898. Picture this: thousands of people packed into the plaza, laughter echoing through the night, a collective heartbeat, until it stops. The air thickens, wraps around you like a heavy blanket. That metallic hum, it vibrates through the bones of every person there. It's more than sound. It becomes a sensation, an electric charge surging through the crowd, as if the city itself is alive and kicking. Look closely. Confetti hangs in midair. Fireworks freeze in their ascent. Time distorts like a shattered mirror, reflecting forgotten moments. But here's the thing. This isn't just a quirk of fate or some cosmic joke. It's a reminder that history has a pulse. Each tick of that clock connects us to those who stood here a century before. They felt joy, dread, hope, all wrapped up into one moment that transcended time. Now, imagine living in a world where past, present, and future collide in an instant. Every cheer shatters the silence of what could have been. Every gasp echoes stories left untold. And as the clock resumes its relentless march forward, we're reminded life doesn't wait for anyone or anything. Don't let your own countdown freeze. Make your next moment count, because once it passes, it's gone forever. They found a metal shaft, not on any plan. Architects uncovered it under a 19th century tower. The discovery didn't match local history at all. Chemists ran tests and scratched their heads. The alloy couldn't be placed in that era. No record mentioned such material or work. The tower's blueprints showed nothing like it. People argued over what the shaft meant. Historians leaned toward hidden industry or war. Locals whispered older stories about forbidden rooms. Engineers worried about safety and unknown risks. Ethicists asked whether to open it at all. New scans showed patterns that made no sense. Some insisted it was modern technology, decades early. Others felt the shaft pointed to ancient craft. Nobody found a single document explaining purpose. Decisions became political, not purely scientific anymore. Funding fights, permits, and heated town meetings followed. The team mapped everything and slowed down. They worried about disturbing who or what. For months, they chose caution over curiosity. The entrance was documented, then sealed again. Scholars still debate what lies far below. You can feel the silence when you visit. That silence keeps the tower's secret alive. And it keeps people arguing to this day. In 2011, a family secret was unlocked. Serrano's descendant found diagrams and a note. The drawings showed a spinning device under a tower. The machine does not measure time. It listens to it. Think about that for a moment. Not measuring time, but listening to its patterns. Like tuning a radio to a ghost station. What would time actually sound like? Maybe clicks, or heartbeats, or laughter. Serrano wasn't making a clock for show. He built something meant to listen. What he heard scared him badly. The family locked the plans away. Generations kept that secret like a rule. Until 2011 broke the habit. The descendant read the note and thought, to build it, study it, or bury it. We still don't know their decision, but the question stays with us. If a machine listens, what answers come? Could it replay your worst mistakes? Could it rescue a lost moment for you? Listening makes secrets fragile and loud. Once heard, some things cannot be unsaid. So read those old papers carefully. Decide what kind of knowledge you want. The safe gifted a question, not an answer. What would you do if time spoke? 2 minutes before midnight, a pulse was recorded. This happened in 2015 during a test. Sensitive microphones captured a very low pulse. By itself, it sounded like a hiccup. Researchers sped it up to study it. When sped, the tones matched Fibonacci numbers. The pattern was simply 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. Then the same sequence showed up in Alaska. Different teams, different gear, same timing. Some said it was electrical noise. Others found that answer unsatisfying. The odds of that exact sequence repeating were tiny. Fibonacci shows in shells and flowers, but those are shapes, not timed sounds. Some suggested whales or large marine animals, but the frequency was lower than whale songs. Others blamed faulty preamps or files. Teams rewired gear and synced atomic clocks. Even after fixes, the sequence stayed. A lab ran spectral analysis on the tones. Intervals lined up with Fibonacci intervals exactly. That made natural coincidence seem unlikely. Conspiracy channels exploded with theories. Most scientists stayed cautious and skeptical. One team went back to Alaska to record. They heard the sequence there again. A repeat across places reduced the glitch theory. Still, no clear source emerged. It sounds engineered, yet might be natural. Either way, it's a rare acoustic mystery. We don't have an answer yet, but we keep listening night after night. If it returns, we'll be ready with gear. Until then, the Fibonacci pulse waits. 2017. Workers broke into a sealed corridor. They found spiral stairs going down. At the bottom stood a metallic arch. Sound behaved oddly inside that space. There was no echo or normal bounce of sound. The workers shouted, but silence swallowed every word. They tested with hammers and radios. Every test came back muted or missing. Phones recorded nothing but low hum. Some thought it was an acoustic trick. Others said it felt like a place that refused sound. There were no labels, maker's marks, or dates. A local engineer suggested metamaterial absorption. He pointed to repeating ridges and thin plates. Another idea was ritual or trap. Old maps showed a sealed shaft there decades earlier. Workers found scraps of cloth and an old coin. The coin had a face no one knew. People left quickly after night fell. Phones died near the arch. One worker swore he heard voices, but playback showed only static and low rumble. Curiosity kept the story alive. Blog posts multiplied as theories spread fast. Some wanted to seal it again. Others wanted to study the arch more. A final visit, logged by a freelancer, ended abruptly. He uploaded a short clip and then vanished online. There was no follow-up, no interviews, just that file. So what is the passage? Maybe it's a natural acoustic sync, or experiment, or warning. A place built to forget. We go back sometimes, but we never touch anything. That arch keeps secrets, quiet and heavy, and silence has weight you can feel. 40,000 phones recorded the same glitch. In 2019, clocks briefly ran backward for a fraction of a second. Officials blamed optical distortion as the cause, and synchronized distortion does not exist. Every video matched the same backward beat. They all show the same tiny reverse jerk. Faces laughed, then blinked in confusion. Phones shook while people kept filming anyway. 2 independent labs analyzed the clips. Neither found a common camera flaw. Online forums exploded overnight with theories. People matched frames and found the same frame. That killed the prank theory quickly. Eyewitnesses described their watches jumping back. Some felt déjà vu so sharp it hurt. If time hiccuped, how do we measure? They issued a brief statement and nothing more. The line was optical distortion. Most people watching did not buy that explanation. This video isn't proof of time travel. It's proof that a lot of people saw the same thing. And that should bother you, because our world is supposed to agree on seconds. When seconds disagree, trust phrase fast. Keep the clip and talk about it with others. Don't let easy answers settle the noise. Pay attention and ask smart, inconvenient questions. One single note stopped Isaac Albeni's cold. He wrote later that he felt it. It shook him down to his bones. Serrano called it the city's heartbeat. People heard it like an order. Markets froze mid-meal and fell silent. Dogs stopped on the street. Clocks seemed to hesitate for a beat. The tone had real, heavy weight. People folded into the sound. Lovers in doorways held their breath. A street lamp blinked and died. Boats rocked at the harbor with no wind. Soldiers paused and glanced around. Albeniz wrote the whole thing down. He warned that music can map danger. Serrano shrugged and said, "Listen." The next note came lower still. Windows rattled as if someone knocked. No one moved for a long moment. Some people left quietly down empty alleys. Others stayed to feel it. Albeniz later said, "The tone opened doors. Doors you forget exist or pretend not seen." He told friends to lock their rooms. Serrano kept playing, silent and steady. People argued about what it meant. Some called it a warning. Others called it the city's song. I prefer the simpler truth. It told you to listen. Once you hear it, you cannot unhear. So you decide, follow or shut the door. 3 famous sites share a hidden secret. This isn't rumor or a travel story. Researchers traced lines that repeat across centuries. Locals started calling those paths the grid. At the grid's center sits the pulse room. People argue about what the pulse room did. Some say it measured time and movement. Others say it managed supplies and routes. Either way, choices funneled toward that center. Small rooms there had big decision power. Leaders, traders, and priests all used that hub. Maps became instructions, not just guides to follow. Roads and towers aligned with those old lines. Centuries of planning left marks in stone. Modern teams map the same stubborn patterns. Archaeology keeps finding repeated angles and points. Nobody has a single, neat explanation yet, but people kept coming back to the center. Visitors report calm, clarity, and strange headaches. Not magic, just persistent effects on humans. The pulse room probably counted rhythms and flows. Those counts shaped who got what and when. Small shifts created big ripples across regions. The grid taught people how to organize space. Even today, its traces guide routes and plans. So the pulse room mattered more than its size. 121 years decide when the machine wakes. Serrano wrote that in his last note. He was a clockmaker who never stopped. He tracked stars like a craftsman tracks knots. He thought gears and sky could sync. Astronomical cycles were his calendar and key. Every 121 years, alignment flipped a hidden switch. The switch lives below the town, under stone. People laughed at Serrano's charts for a while. He kept going into the night anyway. His final note reads like a short prayer. Listen close to the line he underlined. He warned of a metallic sound starting slowly. It was not music or any simple trick. If you follow Serrano's steps, you get instructions. Open his journal to the page with circles. Turn the small key 3 full rotations. Listen for a second metallic pitch emerging. If it rings clean, step back 10 paces. If it cracks, run and don't look back. He ended with this line about memory. Time remembers what we try to forget. Now the clocks hum sometimes at midnight. Myths grow from that hum quickly here. We keep the journal in a locked box. But curiosity is louder than locks for some. If you find Serrano's note, handle it slow. And remember, cycles do not forgive mistakes. 22 meters below the plaza, we found something. The scans showed a perfect spherical void. Inside, a metallic object vibrated with a faint pulse. It was a sound, and almost a heartbeat. Technicians called it curious and dangerous at once. We lowered sensors on a slow cable. The probe recorded rhythm, then pattern, then pause. Every reading climbed when the pulse aligned. It wasn't random vibration from heat or pressure. There was timing and repetition like language. We tried to translate the oscillations into meaning. Mostly noise, and one clear signature emerged. Not words, but a coordinate and a date. The date predated every map in our archive. We argued about opening it right away. Opening felt like trespassing on ancient intention. Sealing it felt like burying a question forever. You think of stories where curiosity wins quickly. Reality prefers indecision and slow, heavy silence. That night, we left the chamber closed. But the pulse kept time under the plaza. It measured us as much as we measured it. Something down there remembered our steps and names. We turned away, but we did not leave. The question waits quiet, but undeniably patient. It will call again when we are ready. At midnight in 2023, a flash spoke. Sensors recorded a message in cold text. The cycle continues, it read. People called it a glitch at first. Then the old maps shifted in the archive. Records with blank margins filled overnight. Families checked clocks and held their breath. Some laughed, while others wrote down dates. You might think it's random noise. It was not random noise at all. This tower had been quiet for decades. Tonight, it breathed like an old machine. Breath that matched tides and human sleep. You woke to messages from neighbors. Some claimed dreams synced with the pulse. A scientist measured frequency and smiled. She said, patterns repeat every 37 years. People found old warnings in cemeteries. No one agreed on meaning or motive, but everyone felt that timing mattered. You will remember how quiet the city got. People shut their windows and waited. Some people left town before dawn. Others stayed to mark the time. A priest read ledger entries under candlelight. A mechanic checked bearings and old circuits. Children set alarms for the next pulse. You decide whether to leave or learn. Either way, the cycle kept its own time, and it will return, like machines do. Madrid sits above an ancient planetary timing mechanism. Scientists found it under the old street grid. They didn't call it science at first. People named it a guardian, then a relic. The mechanism matches shifts in Earth's magnetic cycles. Those cycles are active now, not someday later. Every alignment sends a small pulse through Madrid. Pigeons scatter as old clocks jump forward minutes. Maps glow on nights when the pulse happens. City planners ignored the lines for decades. Tourists walked over a machine and laughed. Then the readings changed and behavior shifted overnight. Phones kept losing minutes and trains gained seconds. People felt small, like pieces on a board. A few followed the grid with old compasses. They found stone markers buried under fountains. Each marker matched a star position from centuries ago. So the conclusion was weird and simple. Madrid isn't random. It's tuned to Earth's magnetism, and the alignment now is unlike those before. Windows sometimes crack, while instruments report anomalies across neighborhoods. You could dismiss it as coincidence, sure, or you could watch the map with us. The grid wants attention, and it keeps tapping. 3 hours ago, Serrano vanished without a trace. Teams checked his apartment and his phone. Security footage cut out 20 minutes earlier. The pulses under Madrid are getting stronger. They began as small blips on monitors. Now they feel like a rhythm in concrete. Something learned to answer back. Serrano studied that pattern for months. He warned it could be aware. People shrugged. Then he stopped answering calls. Now teams search in silence instead. We can rush in at dawn, or we can wait and listen longer. Serrano left a single note on his desk. It said, "Trust sound, not force." So we sit above the hum tonight. You can feel it through layers of stone. A pressure, like someone holding a secret. Maps show tunnels and old foundations only. But sensors report patterns no map explains. This machine is patient and precise. It waits for something we don't understand. Serrano walked toward that waiting once. we will choose soon, one way or another. If we go down, we go carefully. If we wait, we keep listening first. Either choice will make noise in the city. Serrano's name sits on a growing list. The machine beneath Madrid is not silent. It is waiting, patient as a locked door. Someone has to open that door carefully. We either find Serrano or we learn more. Either way, the city will hear it first.